Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We're in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verses 1 through 26. Now, Balaam, the pagan seer, soothsayer, diviner, has gone with the Moabite king, Balak. And he instructs the king to go ahead and build 7 altars and make 7 sacrifices. Now, to whom Balak is sacrificing, we don't know. Balaam knows that he's under the instructions of the Lord, the God of Israel. And it says that God puts his word in Balaam's mouth, just like he did with the donkey, right? And I think one of the things that we can understand is that it is not for the preacher to come up with his own words. It's not up to the preacher to try to be creative. The preacher's role is to speak the word that the Lord puts in his mouth, right? And we would do well to remember that, to live by that. As God asserts, God will do what the Lord is going to do. He's not going to be swayed by divination. He's not going to be swayed by manipulative sacrifices, right? And Balaam, in his message, his sermon, asks the question, how can we curse or denounce what the Lord has blessed? And I think that's still a critical question for us. How can we bring an outside power, outside spiritual power up against what the Lord has blessed? The Lord has conquered Satan. But it is our own sin, our own destructive patterns that break the blessing of God in our lives, whether it's our family relationships, marriage, or our faith. It is our denial of God's blessings. It's not some outside curse. So going on, Balaam in his first sermon says, I pray that I would also be declared, that I would die righteous. To be declared righteous, not by his own efforts, but that God has declared them righteous, because that's what's true of Israel. They didn't make themselves righteous. God has made them his people. He's made them righteous. Now, after the first sermon, they try again with a second attempt. The pagan soothsayer tells the Moabite king, why don't you go stand over there with the offering? I'll go over here and meet with God. Once again, the Lord puts his word in Balaam's mouth. And now this time this sermon is addressed to the pagan king, the Moabite king. He says, you need to understand, the Lord doesn't operate like human beings. He doesn't lie and fib like human beings, because the Lord's invincible presence goes beyond that. God speaks, God acts. God promises, then God fulfills. And it is the Lord who is calling, creating, and the people of Israel. They are his creation, his people. And as it is, they are the work of God, so it can be said, look and see what God has done. They are a sign of God's majesty and sovereignty when we look at this passage. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.